welcome to the deep dive. Okay, today our mission is pretty clear. Find the cars that really shifted things, not just bestsellers, but the ones that fundamentally change automotive history. You need the key list, those 5 game changers, and that's what we're digging into.
It was honestly a tough process looking through the sources, because you start listing revolutionary cars, and suddenly you've got dozens. Think about it, ESP, hydraulic suspension, power steering, so many firsts.
Right, things we just expect now.
Exactly, so we had to be strict, really focus on the absolute foundations based on the material.
Okay, let's dive in, starting right at the beginning. It has to be the 1886 Patent-Motorwagen, doesn't it? Almost feels mandatory.
It does, but the sources pointed out something beyond just it was the first. It wasn't just the machine itself.
Okay, what was the angle then?
It was the human element. Carl Benz, the inventor, he was apparently at a low point, felt like it wasn't working, couldn't really show people what it could do.
The classic inventor's despair moment. So his wife Bertha steps in.
That's the story the sources highlight. Bertha Benz, she took the motorwagon, grabbed their 2 kids, and just went. Drove it over 100 miles.
Wow, just like that.
Yeah. And the key thing wasn't just showing it off publicly, it was proving it could go somewhere. That it was a real usable machine for travel, not just a curiosity.
So she basically forced people to see it differently. Not a toy, but a tool. For freedom, maybe.
That's the shift in perception, yeah. That's the revolution the sources point to, proving the concept.
And that proof naturally leads to number 2, right?
Yeah.
Taking that idea of personal ability and making it, well, possible for almost everyone.
Exactly. The Ford Model T.
Can't argue with that one. The Model T is more than a car. It's like the symbol of mass production. Made cars affordable.
Right, but here's a nuance from the sources that's important for, a deep dive like this. It first came out in 1908.
Okay.
But the real revolution, the affordability part, that kicked in around 1913. That's when Ford got the moving assembly line going for true mass serial production.
So the method was the revolution as much as the car itself.
Precisely. That efficiency made it accessible. That's its global impact.
Okay, so we've got the invention and mass production covered. What about changing how the car actually drives? The mechanics.
Good transition. We need to talk about getting power to the wheels differently. Let's start with the Citroën Traction Avant.
Traction Avant. Front traction, right.
Literally, this was 1934. And its big claim to fame, its revolutionary status, is being the first mass-produced front-wheel drive car, FWD.
Pulling instead of pushing. And that was huge, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Better interior space because you ditched the drive shaft tunnel, simpler mechanics in some ways, and better stability, especially in bad weather because the engine weight is pressing down on the drive wheels.
Makes sense. But the sources also brought up another drivetrain contender, right? For making a different kind of drive system mainstream.
They did, the Audi Quattro. The argument here is that the Quattro truly revolutionized things by making all-wheel drive, AWD, usable and desirable for everyday cars, not just off-roaders.
Okay, wait. Why the Quattro specifically? I mean, Subaru made AWD pretty common later, didn't they? Especially for regular commuters.
That's a fair point, but the distinction the sources make is about how it became acceptable. The Quattro, largely through its massive success in rallying.
The motorsport connection.
Exactly. It made AWD seem high performance, high tech, and also safer on regular roads. It showed you could have AWD without it being super heavy or complex, setting a benchmark.
So it sort of legitimized AWD for performance and safety, normalized it.
I think that's a good way to put it. It made four-wheel grip the goal for many manufacturers afterwards.
Okay, that tracks. Moving on from performance, what about just sheer practicality, creating new types of vehicles people needed?
Now you're heading towards the 1984 Chrysler minivan. And this story is fascinating, rooted in, well, near disaster for Chrysler.
Right, Lee Iacocca. Chrysler was in deep trouble then.
On the verge of collapse. And Iacocca apparently knew they couldn't just build another sedan or coupe to compete with Ford and GM. They needed something different.
So, the minivan, kind of a hybrid idea. Station wagon comfort, van utility.
That was the gamble.
Right.
Blend those attributes. And it wasn't just a gamble, it basically created the whole MPV multi-purpose vehicle segment.
Even though the Renault space was around the same time in Europe.
It was, yeah, contemporaneous. But the Chrysler minivan really nailed the formula for the North American market and arguably influenced the global standard for what a minivan should be. It defined family cars for ages.
And hot on its heels, defining the next shift in transport, we get the Toyota Prius.
Yep. introduced in Japan in 1987, though it took a bit longer to go global. The Prius was the first mass-market hybrid, full stop.
The start of electrification for the masses.
Absolutely. It quietly kicked off this whole era. It proved that a complex hybrid powertrain could be reliable, efficient, and something you could just buy and drive like a normal car. Huge shift in focus for the industry towards efficiency via hybrid tech.
Okay, now, we need to talk about a revolution that wasn't planned. One driven by failure, really. A darker turn.
You mean the Ford Pinto?
Yeah. It's impossible to ignore its impact, even if it's infamous. The sources highlighted this as an unintended safety revolution.
It's a really stark example. The problem wasn't just that the Pinto had that terrible issue with the fuel tank catching fire in rear-end collisions.
Which was horrific.
Absolutely. But the bigger picture, the systemic issue it exposed, was about industry standards for crash safety, specifically fuel tank protection.
What was the core design flaw it revealed?
Essentially, the Pinto's fuel tank was placed outside the main protective structure, in the crush zone. Why? Because regulations back then didn't force manufacturers to treat that area as needing the same impact protection.
So the Pinto fires, the lawsuits, the media storm. It forced to change.
Massively. It forced the entire industry, pushed by regulations and public outcry, to rethink basic car architecture. Fuel tanks had to be moved to more protected locations within the car's structure. Safety became a primary design driver, not an afterthought.
A revolution born from tragedy, but one that definitely made cars safer overall.
Undeniably. Countless lives saved since then because of that fundamental shift.
Okay, let's leap forward. Final category. The modern era. What defines revolution now?
Well, the sources point in two key directions here. First, you absolutely have to mention Tesla.
The obvious EV leader.
Clear leader, yeah. Pushing the envelope on range, software, over-the-air updates. They basically made legacy automakers take EVs seriously, set the modern standard.
Okay, and the other direction. The sources mentioned something about democratizing technology.
Yeah.
Like the Model T did.
Exactly, paralleling that idea. It's the Mercedes 4MATIC system.
All-wheel drive again. But how is this different from the Quattro?
It's about accessible complexity. The context is important. 4MATIC came out not long after the Porsche 959.
The 959. The supercar legend. Insanely advanced AWD for its time.
Insanely advanced, insanely expensive, and insanely rare. Basically unobtainable technology.
So Mercedes.
Mercedes took that concept sophisticated, electronically controlled all-wheel drive and engineered it for their regular production cars. Made it available to, well, actual consumers.
And made it easy to use.
Critically, yes, that's the revolutionary part here. The 4MATIC system worked automatically, seamlessly shifting power between 2 and 4 wheels for optimal grip and safety in all conditions. The driver didn't need to do anything or even know it was happening.
So it democratized that high-level safety and stability tech, made it invisible but effective.
Precisely. That accessibility is the key revolutionary aspect.
Wow. Okay, so those are the 5 big categories. Benz, Ford, Citroën, Audi, Chrysler, Toyota, Tesla, Mercedes. Plus the Pinto's safety impact.
But the source material listed other contenders too, right? Shows how tough it was to narrow down.
Oh, absolutely. It reminds you innovation is constant, often incremental, like the first Mercedes S-Class with ESP, Electronic Stability Program, game changer for preventing skids.
Saved so many lives. Or what about the Citroën DS back in '55? The hydraulic suspension, the headlights that turned with the steering. Felt like science fiction then. Totally futuristic. Even earlier attempts at dynamic control, like the Honda Integra having the first 4-wheel steering system, little experiments bubbling up everywhere, or think about the 1959 Cadillac with automatic high beams.
Auto high beams in '59. That's wild.
See? Innovation everywhere. But there was one more thing, something really cutting edge the sources brought up, takes us right down to the engine's core components.
Oh, what's that?
Ferrari's current work on oval piston technology.
Oval pistons. That sounds complicated. I know Honda did something like that in bikes, right? With 2 connecting rods.
They did, yes. Honda used it on the NR motorcycle to cram 8 valves per cylinder for a performance edge. Needed 2 con rods.
So what's Ferrari doing differently?
Get this. They rotate the oval shape, think like a rectangle, with rounded ends by 90 degrees compared to Honda's approach. And crucially, they figured out how to do it with a single connecting rod.
Okay, why? What's the big advantage? What problem does that solve?
It tackles a fundamental issue in standard engines: asymmetrical load distribution. When the fuel explodes, the force pushes down, but because of the conrod angle, it pushes harder on one side of the cylinder wall.
Causing uneven wear and friction.
Exactly. Wasted energy, more wear. Ferrari's rotated oval piston, with its single rod, manages those combustion forces much more evenly across the cylinder surface. More efficient, potentially more durable.
That's clever engineering. But is there more to it?
Oh yeah, there's a massive packaging benefit. Because of how the single rod works with the oval shape, they can actually overlap the connecting rods side by side on the crankshaft journal, the bit the rods connect to.
Overlap them, meaning they take up less space lengthwise.
Bingo. You gain significant space along the crankshaft. This lets Ferrari build their big V8s, V10s, V12s much shorter engine block, lighter block.
And a shorter engine block means you can mount it further back in the car.
Right behind the front axle line, the holy grail for front engine car balance.
Wow. So this piston tech lets them achieve near-perfect weight distribution before they even add hybrid electric motors up front, which they're doing now.
It's a fundamental enabler for their modern chassis dynamics, changing the engine's core geometry to optimize the entire vehicle's physics. Pretty revolutionary stuff.
What a journey. From an 1886 three-wheeler that barely worked, to tweaking piston shapes in the 21st century to balance multi-million-dollar supercars.
It really shows that automotive revolution isn't just one thing, is it? Sometimes it's mass production like the Model T, sometimes it's creating a new class like the minivan, sometimes it's pure tech like the Quattro, or even this deep engine science.
Which leaves a big question for you, the listener. What actually makes a car revolutionary? Is it the one that sells millions and changes daily life, like the Model T or maybe the VW Beetle?
Or is it the technological pioneer? The one that introduces an idea, even if it's initially rare or expensive, that eventually changes everything, like the 959 paving the way for systems like 4MATIC.
Or maybe even a car known for its flaws, like the Pinto, that forces a necessary life-saving change across the whole industry. What vehicles do you think belong on that list? Maybe the original Mini for its space efficiency.
Or the Fiat 500. Lots of possibilities. Innovation never really stops.
The road ahead is still being built by these kinds of breakthroughs. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the cars that truly changed the world.
We'll be back soon to explore more groundbreaking stuff.